Just take a minute. Look around you. There's history being made. Has been. Will be. How can there not? Just something about those blue skies, high banks, and high speed, all coming together in one perfect race. And it'll be here sooner than you think.
Roll Tide and welcome to this Tuesday edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. This is Roger Hoover with you from our studios in Tuscaloosa. We're glad you're with us to talk some Alabama football as we gear up for this Saturday, the Crimson Tide against the Austin Peay Governors at Bryant-Denny Stadium. We'll begin our show by going through all the headlines for today that are brought to you by our friends at RJ Young. They're the official technology solutions provider of Crimson Drive. They've given us the smart board to go through everything coming up on the show today, plus all of our headlines. We'll start by taking a look back at the win on Saturday in Oxford. What a fun time. It was a very cold time, but a fun time we had in the radio booth at Vaught Hemingway Stadium for Alabama's 6-point win at Ole Miss. And then we'll hear from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, with some final thoughts on the Ole Miss win, plus looking ahead to this Saturday against Austin Peay. We always have one-on-one conversations with Crimson Tide football players, and this week we're joined by offensive lineman J.C. Latham to get his take on especially how well Alabama ran the football in the second half against the Rebels. They'll be joined by a Crimson Tide legend in Jeremiah Castille. Of course, a legendary player for Coach Paul Bear Bryant. Actually served as one of Coach Bryant's pallbearers when he passed away only a month after Jeremiah was the most valuable player of the Liberty Bowl back in 1983. So a great conversation with Jeremiah Castille coming up. And then we'll take a look back to last night's edition of Crimson Tide Rewind with Be Kind. Crimson Tide Rewind lets you hear some of the best from our Monday night show at Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa. Other headlines for today. Let's start with that Crimson Tide football team coming off a good road victory against Ole Miss. 30-24. You saw the Crimson Tide down by 3 at halftime, outscore Ole Miss 16-7 in the second half. Byron Young, 2 sacks in the ball game. He's the SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week. Will Reichard had the 2 critical field goals in the fourth quarter that pushed Alabama to that 6-point advantage. Was perfect on all of his extra points. He is the SEC Specialist of the Week. That comes on the heels of he becoming Alabama's all-time points leader. So congratulations to Crimson Tide kicker Will Reichard. We also learned yesterday from the Southeastern Conference that the Iron Bowl set for Saturday, November 26th in Tuscaloosa is set for 2:30 p.m., televised, of course, on CBS, and our radio coverage that day will begin at 11:30 across the network. We don't want to close out just yet. Let's take a look at Crimson Tide soccer. Last Friday, a 9-0 win over Jackson State. A very solid start to the Crimson Tide run in the NCAA tournament as Alabama now moves forward to the second round matchup against Portland. And then, if a victory, Alabama would move on to the third round, taking on either Brown or UC Irvine. So 2 big matches coming up. You can also watch Brown versus UC Irvine coming up at 3 o'clock at the Alabama Soccer Stadium on Friday before Alabama and Portland kick off at 6 p.m. So good luck to Crimson Tide soccer against Portland. Then Crimson Tide basketball, it's going to be a busy week once again on the road for Alabama as, of course, the men's basketball team later tonight will start play against South Alabama at 9 o'clock. Our radio coverage will begin at 8 p.m. as Tom Stipe has plenty of coffee ready to go for tonight's ball game. Alabama at South Alabama playing a little bit later than normal at 9 p.m. Central. Crimson Tide off to a very good start. It was fun to be at Coleman Coliseum last week for the wins against Longwood and Liberty. Then women's basketball also getting ready to hit the road. I'll be going with them to Tampa, Florida coming up for the game tomorrow at South Florida. 6 p.m. tip-off from the Yuengling Center. We'll have radio coverage starting at 5:55 across the network. And we saw the Crimson Tide women's basketball team pick up 2 wins last week against Alabama A&M at home and then went on the road and beat a very good Tulane team. So the Crimson Tide are starting the season with 6 of 9 games on the road and continuing time on the road tomorrow against USF. Crimson Tide football team, they're finished with road football games for the season, and the last road trip of the year to Oxford, Mississippi was a successful one on Saturday. We'll let you take a look at all the booth cam highlights. We had so much fun celebrating this Crimson Tide win over Ole Miss. Here are the booth cam highlights from Saturday.
Look, the first thing, it was great to see our players happy and excited to be celebrating.
Fourth down going for it here. 4th and 2. Handoff up the middle. Stop! Shy of the mark. The Bama defense comes up big. Empty set now for Dart. Throwing the slant and a big hit delivered. What a play. Jordan Battle. They'll throw the slant. Catch is made. Touchdown, Alabama. Jermaine Burton makes the grab as Bryce Young threads the needle, and the Tide gets on the board. Trying to cash in on the Ole Miss turnover. A minute 18 to go in the second quarter. Young waiting, getting the snap. In the pocket, stepping up. Now he wants to run. He's got room inside the 15, inside the 5, spinning down at the 3-yard line. First and goal, Bama. Young looking, throwing, caught, touchdown. Cameron Latham makes the grab in traffic, 8 yards. Alabama trying to claw their way back. The Tide pulls to within 4.
Look, you know exactly what you're talking about. You got to have more yards to throw the ball. Right there, Latham. Great route from him. He runs a square in, but sells to the top, like a little deke to the outside. And then Bryce waits till he gets to the second window. Perfect protection from Alabama. That's what we're going to have right now. 8 seconds left to go. It's a huge score from Alabama, who's getting the ball to start the third.
Randolph in at tight end as well. Bama kind of bunched up in their formation. They'll go play action. Pressure coming up the middle. Somehow escaping is Young. Swings it out right side. Brooks makes a man miss. 45, 40, 35, 30. Bumped out of bounds. Shy of the 20-yard line. Houdini escapes, and Bama on the march.
But, man, Brooks made a guy miss on the tackle. Huge pickup right there. Biggest play of the day for Alabama.
This will be a 39-yard kick from Reichert from the right hash. Snap, spot, and kick. All perfect. And what do you say we start over? We're tied at 17. Play action by Dart. Pressure coming up the middle, and he goes down. Sacked by Will Anderson at the 45. With Latham, the offset tight end. Handoff right side. Goes to McClellan. Fighting, churning, driving the legs, pushing the pile. First down, Alabama. Down inside the 20-yard line of the Rebels. Handoff McClellan right side. Turns it up. Gets 4 yards. Gets 5. Gets 6. Gets knocked out of bounds after a gain of 8. Young directing traffic. He'll bring Law in tight to the right side. He will look that direction. He will bounce to his right. He'll roll. He will pump fake. He'll throw it. Back of the end zone. Catch made. Brooks. Touchdown, Alabama. Gets the snap. Stepping up in the pocket. Pressure coming. Makes one man miss. Can't make another miss. Byron Young, the defensive end, coming over to make the stop. Burton coming in motion from the left to the right side. Burton makes the catch, gets back to the line of scrimmage, gets forward inside the 45, breaks a tackle, gets to the 38. First down, Alabama. Handoff right side, McClellan, 35-30, pushed out of bounds as Alabama starting to gash him a little bit. Young getting the snap, handing it off. McClellan left side, pushing forward to the 20 and down to the 19. Back inside the Chick-fil-A red zone. Bryce waiting on the snap, gets it. Hands it off. First down. More. 15, 10, down to the 7-yard line. Chase McClellan on the block from Emil Ekiyor leading the way.
Ekiyor from the right guard position. Pulls to the left, and talking about a pancake block. That's a decleater from the right guard right there to spring McClellan free.
23 yards from the left hash. Snap, spot, kick. Good. And Alabama has its first lead of the day. We'll go quick pitch, look out, big hit delivered. Alabama's Brian Branch. He's listed as the star. He made Judkins see stars as he leveled him for a loss of 5 on the play. Quarterback draw, nowhere to go. He goes down. Young with the sack. Bama forcing the 3 and out from the Rebels. They'll snap it to Dart. He'll throw. It's batted into the air and knocked down. Byron Young having the night of his life right here for Alabama. 4th down and 7. Pressure. Down he goes. Dallas Turner gets the stop, and Alabama will take over on downs. Bryce gets the snap at 4. Looking with time. Steps up in the pocket. He wants to run. He'll get the first down. He'll slide down from the left hash. Waiting. Snap, spot, kick. Plenty of leg. It's up. It is good. Will Reichert boots it through. Bama leads it 30-24 with 3 wideouts right, 1 in the slot. They'll bring a man right side. Play action to him. Dart keeps it. Gets tripped up and down at the 15. Byron Young, I'm so glad you caught the bus. Dart claps his hands, gets the snap. Pressure coming, tries to step up. He's run down again. Byron Young again at the 20-yard line. Gets the snap. Looking, firing, up in the air, knocked away, incomplete. Bryant Branch knocked it away from Mingo, and Alabama turns away the Rebels. Ain't storming this one. The Tide able to come to Oxford, coming from behind, getting it done against a really good Rebel team. Alabama is gonna win it. Your final score, 30-24. The Tide comes back and wins it. What guts John Parker Wilson from Nick Saban's squad.
Look, the first thing, it was great to see our players happy and excited to be celebrating a win, a really good win for them. After getting behind in the game 17-7, to come back and sort of play the way we're capable of playing and do things with sort of a relentless competitive sort of spirit and enthusiasm and togetherness as a team, I think was great. And it was, really good to see the players happy, excited, and celebrating because they were happy that they had put something in something and got a positive result. In reviewing the film, obviously, I think that we always have to be able to focus on taking advantage of opportunities that we have. We also have to focus on making sure that we learn the lessons of things that we do that actually help the other team have opportunities in the game as well. So those are all lessons to be learned. I think the focus needs to be on our team, what our team needs to do to each individual on our team and each unit on our team. What do we need to do to improve? What do we need to do to try to do a better job with consistency and execution in terms of what we do as coaches, as well as how we get the players to stay focused so that we can execute with more consistency. Great to see Byron Young, SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week. He had a heck of a game. Will Reichert made some real key clutch kicks in the game. It's great for those guys to get recognized. Austin Pay, Scotty Walden does a really, really good job there. For FCS, these guys are ranked, in the top part of their division and just about everything they do. They're really good on defense. They got one of the top 10 defenses. They average 450 yards a game on offense with a lot of balance. Quarterback does a really good job with them. Number 10, McCray, is a really explosive player that they do a good job of utilizing his talents. They got good returner. Look, we need to prepare for this game like any other game that we play. We need to be ready to play well. They have enough people on their team to be able to take advantage of any lack of execution, and certainly we want to focus on us being able to execute, in a really positive way and try to build on the momentum of, having a good second half and improving to finish the season. It comes down to player awareness. It comes down to player focus. It comes down to, on defense, you got to be physical. When you're physical, you knock the ball off of people. When you have good cleanup, which means a lot of guys are getting to the ball, second guy in has a chance to take a shot at the ball. All these things are things that we emphasize, and we actually did better in this last game. But only got the result of one turnover. Had another chance to intercept the ball and, didn't make a catch, but we just got to keep harping on it and keep working on it with our players to work on how do you get the ball out, when do you take shots at it, and try to do it better, because this is something that, has a significant impact on games, and we need to do a better job in that regard. Well, we had 3 or 4 of our explosive plays, in the game where, whatever you want to call him, moving in the pocket, making people miss in the pocket. He's deceptively quick to make people miss, especially if they're coming out of control. But he does a fantastic job of having a feel in the pocket of when he needs to do it, and he's very good at doing it. And his ability to extend plays, and then our receivers have done a really good job when he does scramble of applying scramble rules to get where they need to get, so they have an opportunity to make themselves available for the ball. So that was good for us in the game. I mean, I think we made 3 or 4 big plays on that kind of thing.
Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. Don't miss out on your chance to experience the great American race. Witness the stars of NASCAR leave it all out there on the track in hopes of becoming the winner of the 65th annual Daytona 500. Purchase your tickets today at Daytona500.com. We roll along on Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR. After hearing from the head coach of the Crimson Tide, Nick Saban, it's now time to hear from one of the Crimson Tide football players that we visit with each and every week. And this week, we're on the offensive line, where that was really strong, especially in the second half, running the football against the Ole Miss Rebels on Saturday. And J.C. Latham was at the front of the line, helping lead the charge for the Crimson Tide. We caught up with him about what Alabama did well against Ole Miss. JC, congratulations about the win against Ole Miss. What did the offensive line do best on Saturday?
I feel like one thing that we did was just really try to be more consistent as far as just run game and pass protection goes. Understand that every play might not be our best play, but just really being able to put a series of plays together, especially in the second half, is just doing a good job at that. I feel like we did a really good job at it.
How much pride do you take when the running game is able to take over, have a long, sustained drive, especially in the second half?
I take a lot of pride in that because that's primarily our position, running the ball, being physical up front, being able to pound the rock. I take a lot of pride in that because that's something that we work on every single day, the run game, understanding what we need to do in order to do that. And then like people said, like run game, obviously is a lot of technique and physicality, but at times it's really just about heart. We got to have heart to really just drive somebody off the line and just get the job done. So when you're having a successful run game, then you see the offensive line like really gelling together, doing their job, and it's just great all around.
And speaking along those lines, how well do you guys get to know the running backs and all the talent that is in that room? Because you guys have a great assemblage of talent there.
Yeah, obviously we have a really good connection off the field with the running backs, just everybody in general. But on the field, we just see just how great they are, especially during fall camp with Gibbs, Jace, Rodell, and even the freshmen too. Just seeing how great they are, just with the cuts, the ability to run around, and also through people, just seeing all that. So we know if we give them a crease or if we give them like a lane or wherever they got to go, we give them that chance to do it, then they're going to do it and they're going to make a big play out of something. So.
Who have been some really key leaders for this team, especially in the last couple of weeks when things maybe haven't gone their way on the field?
I definitely think a key leader, especially at my position, would be Emil and Darian Dalcourt. Both of those guys kind of stepped up into their role of being a leader, especially when things are kind of just like sinking, especially with the LSU game. They kind of stepped up to make sure that we were ahead. And make sure that we always just basically look ahead and just make sure, or not look ahead, but stay ahead of our where we got to be at, what we got to do, handling our business. But also I think another guy who kind of leads through his actions is Seth. He's the center right now. I think he does a really great job at just understanding that he came in his position with Dalcourt going down with an injury and just stepped up and showcased that he's here helping the team and he was ready to play and perform. I think he's doing a really good job.
And finally, what needs to happen this week against Austin Peay for you guys?
Oh, that's a great question. Austin Peay is a great team. They're going to challenge us. I think if we can just be consistent in the run game and hold up Bryce, I think offensively we'll do a great job. And defensively, I know those boys are going to go out there and shine. And I know as long as they just maintain and hold off, I think it'll be a really good game.
J.C. Latham, thank you for joining us. Roll Tide.
All right, Roll Tide.
Just take a minute. Look around you. There's history being made. Has been, will be. And it'll be here sooner than you think.
Really enjoyed our conversation with J.C. Latham, and don't forget, coming up on Thursday, we're back for another edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR at 2 o'clock right here on all of our social media outlets, and we'll have a one-on-one conversation coming up in that show with defensive back Brian Branch, who is at the center of everything, especially that fourth down stop against Ole Miss on Saturday. Great defensive back for the Crimson Tide in the early 1980s was Jeremiah Castille, and he's being honored along with his son Simeon as our Legends of the Week honorary captains for this upcoming ball game against Austin Peay. So we had a chance to sit down and have a conversation about his career and what the University of Alabama has meant to him, not only in his life, but also in the life of his family as well. Terrific conversation with our Alabama legend for this week, Jeremiah Castille. Jeremiah, roll tide. It's great to see you. How's everything going as we look forward to honoring you on Saturday along with your son?
Excellent. We are doing well. Thank you all for having me on, and we look forward to the game Saturday.
We're really excited to be back inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. And for you, you're around this football team a lot, but what does it mean to have the Castille family recognized in such a way on Saturday at Bryant-Denny?
Well, anytime the university honors you, Roger, it's always it's recognizes us. That's an honor for me and Simeon to be able to come back and be amongst the fans.
Well, we can't wait to have you back. And let's go back to the beginning of your journey to the University of Alabama. You're originally from Columbus, Georgia. What was your recruiting process like? Why'd you end up coming to Alabama?
Laughing because it was real simple. I grew up watching the Coach Bryant show. So at the early 70s, 73, 74, Woodrow Lowe from Phoenix City was featured on the Coach Bryant show because, he was an outstanding linebacker. So, and he lived right down the street from me. So that's how my vision for playing at the University of Alabama. I was probably in middle school at that time. And so my vision to play, my dream to play at the University of Alabama, that's where it began. Watch Coach Bryant would be on his show on Sundays, and I can remember him saying, bingo, that's Woodrow Lowe on the tackle. And what's neat about this story is that, the dream of playing for Coach Bryant, watching Woodrow, and then I had a chance to be roommates with Woodrow's younger brother, Eddie Lowe, while I was there at Alabama.
That's outstanding. Of course, you made that decision to come to Alabama. And of course, you had heard so much about Coach Bryant. You'd watched his television show all that time. What was it like getting to know him at first as a player? And how'd your relationship as a player and a coach grow over the years?
I'll tell you a story real quick that'll help you with that. 1982, we were getting ready to play the last game, Liberty Bowl, Coach Bryant's last game. I'm a senior, my last game. And right before the captains got ready to go out, it was a cold, wet night that night up in Memphis, and I just had a strong prompting to get up and say something. And I was known as a quiet leader. I just didn't talk a whole lot. But this prompting is so strong in just inner man that I feel like, man, if I don't get up, I'm gonna throw up. So I raised my hand real slowly, and I said, Coach, can I say something? Coach Bryant was standing there, and he just nodded. He had that big old jacket on, and he nodded yes. And it was an impromptu situation, and I didn't know what I was going to say, how I was going to say it, but I just knew I had something to say. And when I got up, the words just started coming out, and I said, Coach, tonight I just want to thank you for everything you've done for me. I said, I came here 4 years ago as an 18-year-old boy. And tonight I'm leaving as a 21-year-old man. And I want to thank you for it. And I said, Coach, there's no way we're going to lose this game tonight. Yeah, I said, if I got to play this baby by myself, this game. Well, anyway, I shared that, the story. Coach Bryant dies 20-some days later, but I got a chance to publicly thank him for everything he'd done for me. And in that little talk, I said, I didn't understand a lot of when I first got here as a freshman, but as time passed, I really came to understand what you were trying to do for me, and you really helped me grow up. And that's what he did. He turned boys into men.
And you mentioned he passed away about a month after that game was complete, and you ended up being one of the pallbearers for his funeral. Just what was that experience like? Is there any way to explain it to our fans who maybe weren't around at that time, just how sad a moment that was in Alabama football history?
A sad moment, Roger, but it was also, it's been probably my greatest experience of seeing someone that was a legend affect an entire state, really an entire nation. But one of the things I'll always remember is the getting on the bus and going from Tuscaloosa to Birmingham, and the people, just the sheer number of people that was on the side of the roads, the cars, the people, every overpass. As we're pulling out, I'm looking at people, they're sitting there on the streets crying, weeping. And I'm sitting thinking to myself, man, he had this kind of impact on people. And we knew him. I knew him as a coach-player relationship. And I'm thinking, these people, they just watch Coach Bryant from afar. That is the impact that Coach Bryant had. I've heard numbers of probably over 1 million people viewed that procession as it went from Tuscaloosa to Birmingham.
Incredible. Yeah, the pictures don't even do it justice from what we've seen from that tough time. But then for you afterwards, it was an NFL career, and then you got to see your sons also suit up in the Crimson for the Crimson Tide. Just how meaningful was that for you to get to watch them live out their football dreams, both with Alabama and then some in the NFL as well?
Well, it really was. As I look back on it, it's great memories now. I took on being the chaplain when Tim, my oldest son, was a senior in high school. So I had a chance to see really all Tim, Simeon, and Caleb, who walked on too at Alabama. I got a chance to, over 21 years, see all three of them put the crimson uniform on, and I wanted them to come to the University of Alabama, but the wisdom of it when they were coming out of high school for me was, you can't force them to go to the university. And so years after, they've adults now, we would talk about it. And I said, well, what really made you all decide to go to Alabama? And they said, Dad, two things. They said, Dad, all those stories you told us about Coach Bryant and when we were boys, and taking us down to games when they were growing up. And so I was recruiting them.
We're certainly glad they chose the University of Alabama. We're glad as well you've continued your relationship with the university as well. What can you tell the fans that you're up to these days?
So with what I do now, Roger, I work with our team. Coach Saban has been very gracious to let me work with the team as chaplain. So what we do is we work with the players, and in that capacity, I like to say, just as a spiritual coach, we work with our players. We just in there helping Coach Saban in what he does in the spiritual development of our guys, for those that will want to be a part of it. And we get a chance to do that. And it has been very fulfilling for me to do that.
That's outstanding. Well, Jeremiah Castille, we can't wait to recognize you coming up on Saturday, along with your son, Simeon, coming up this weekend against Austin Peay as our honorary captains, saluting the Castille family for everything you've done for Alabama football. So just thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to Saturday. Roll Tide.
Thank you. Roll Tide, sir.
Really powerful words from Jeremiah Castille. We always love having players on from the Bryant era and be able to speak about Coach Bryant and the experiences they had at Alabama, and Jeremiah Castille is one of the best. We thank him for his time as our Alabama Legend of the Week here on Crimson Drive, and don't forget, he and Simeon Castille will be honored coming up this Saturday against Austin Peay as our honorary captains. Another Crimson Tide legend was able to spend some time with us this week here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, and his name, Corey Reamer. He, of course, co-hosts Crimson Tide Rewind along with me Monday nights at Baumhauer's Victory Grill all throughout football season for Crimson Tide Rewind. And now we'll go to a segment we call Be Kind Crimson Tide Rewind. Let's take a look back at some of the best moments from last night's show in Birmingham. Saw Bryce Young throw 3 touchdown passes, 209 yards, and also looked like he stepped up in terms of his vocal leadership on the sidelines. He was getting after it with the offense, and then Coach Saban joined the conversation as well.
Yeah, sometimes you need a little butt chewing to get things going. You could just tell that it just wasn't the first few drives going out there, like I said, it just looks stale. These guys just weren't playing with this level of energy that you expect to see. And, Bryce Young goes up there, huddles the team up, huddles the offense up. Let's get things going. I mean, guys, we're here, we're playing. Let's go out there and compete. We've got an opportunity. We're making some big plays. We're doing some good things, but we're not putting some drives together. Defense is holding on, getting some stops on fourth down, giving us the ball back, and we're digging a hole right here. We're down 10-0, and we've got to change something, or it's going to be a long day. It could have gotten out of hand pretty quickly. But the defense played a great game. But going out there, seeing them on the side, I got excited. I got excited seeing him huddling the team up and getting after him a little bit, and then Coach Saban joining in too. It's just you hadn't seen that a ton on the sidelines, and there's been a lot of questions of who's that guy, who are these vocal leaders that get the team going when everything's not going the right way. So. Bryce had another good day, made a lot of miraculous plays with his feet, scrambling around in the pocket. I'd love to know what his rush yards are behind the line of scrimmage, not from when he actually takes off and runs, but just when he's running around trying to make some plays, because he's got to have just as many of those as he does actually running beyond the line of scrimmage for a run play. Because he's just running around all over the place. I mean, whenever he can, break away, trying to make a play. Funny to watch, too. There's quarterbacks that are out there that are just fast and just take off running, and it's just amazing. You watch him, it's not like he's in slow motion, but he's not doing a ton, but he's so shifty to just get away, avoid that, make that first guy miss, rolling out, and you never know when the play's going to – what I love to see this past weekend is that, again, for the second week in a row, he wasn't as afraid to take off and give what the defense take what the defense is giving him, making plays with his feet, extending drives. It's always good to see. I think he's feeling a little bit better. It looked like his timing with his receivers was a little bit better this week than last week. Hopefully that's a good sign of things to come.
And Steve has a question on the YouTube stream asking Corey, how do you evaluate the performance of Henry To'o? To'o is a linebacker.
He's a guy you can't appreciate the fact that he's transferred into this program, knows this defense. He is the signal caller, gets everybody lined up. I thought he's had a great season, and he's really good in pass coverage too. I mean, he's a guy that can run with anybody, sideline to sideline. Whenever we get some offenses that try to stretch the defense east and west, and he's got the speed to track some guys down.
The SEC Defensive Lineman of the Week, Alabama's Byron Young. Back-to-back weeks, he has really made an impact for this Crimson Tide football team.
He had a phenomenal game. 11 tackles, 2 sacks, pass breakup, and a forced fumble. He was all over the field. I mean, you could just feel his presence. Every single series that he was out there, he was just making plays, just disrupting a lot of what Ole Miss was trying to do, getting in the face of Jackson Dart. Whether he was able to get throws off or not, he felt Byron Young most of the night and was able to shut down the running game. Even though we talked about, Ole Miss's running game is pretty good with their freshman running back, Quinshon Judkins, and he had a big game, 25 carries for 130-something yards, and he proved us that he's a pretty good player. He's from the state of Alabama, from Pike Road, and a guy that got out of this state, goes over to Ole Miss, and is having a phenomenal freshman year. And he was really the lifeblood of their offense for a lot of the night. But Byron Young, he's been a great player. Got hurt a little bit a couple weeks ago, bounces back really nicely, and has a huge game for us tonight. It was great to see. That front seven really played extremely well, in my opinion. And they really showed up, especially in the second half of this game, to shut down that. Ole Miss scored 7 points in the second half, and that was early in the third quarter, midway through the third quarter, and never found the end zone again. A lot of it had to do with those front seven guys just not allowing them to get in those, short down and distance situations, cause them to back the chains up. You got 3rd and long, 3rd and 10 plus. It makes it tough for an offense to be able to convert those consistently throughout the night.
Everett asking about how do you go about getting the day started for a game that starts at 11 a.m. So does everything move up?
Yeah,
how does it work?
It does. It starts early. You got breakfast at 6. You got to get down there because you got to be at the stadium 2 hours before kickoff. So that's, you back that in. That's 9 o'clock. You're at the stadium. That means you've got breakfast, meetings, walkthroughs, all that before you depart around 8:30 to go towards the stadium. So it's an early morning. It depends on how you look at it. You get a good night's sleep, you get going, you get up and just the day started. You don't have time to sit around and think about it. But it's not my preference. It wasn't my preference as a player. I like to sleep in and kind of take my time getting going. But you got to wake it up. You know it's coming. get up, wake your body up, get moving. That was always the thing Coach Saban was huge emphasis on, was get the body moving. You can't sleep in till the very last minute and just get some food and head over to the stadium, go play. And you got to get up, walk around. We'd always take a lap around the hotel just to wake it up. Just get outside and get things going. So it's gonna be an early day, I know, for us as well. Start the broadcast a little bit earlier.
Yeah, and I have the problem too. If I know I have to wake up early, I can't really sleep that
Yeah. You're anxious about it. Anxious about it, but it'll be good. It's good. Good to get this game going after this big win. There's still a lot to play for, like we talked about on the pregame. The seniors have a lot to play for, and all things go to plan. You hopefully get to see a lot of the younger guys get some opportunities to get out there and get some snaps. But that's not going to happen. We've talked about that before in years past, where we've got these type of games that are coming up, and all of a sudden you've only got a touchdown lead at halftime when you really don't go out there and take care of business. And that's the emphasis for Coach Saban. It always has been, is it doesn't matter who's on the other sideline, go execute like we're supposed to. It doesn't matter who's on the other sideline, go execute like we're supposed to. And then you can take your shoulder pads off in the third, fourth quarter. But you let these guys hang around. They're coming in, they're excited to play. And with the way college football is, even at these smaller schools, there's some good players at every single game. You look at what Deion Sanders has been able to do recruiting at Jackson State. I mean, there's good players all over the place. It's not concentrated to the top 4 teams like it was in the past. So, we'll hopefully go out there and just take care of business and don't have to sweat it out like they've been making us sweat these games out for the rest all season long. So hopefully this one will be a rocking chair game.
Absolutely, and that's part of it on the first team as well. It's kind of their job to make sure they establish it early, allowing everybody to get their opportunity to play a game like this.
Yeah, you go out there and you're just kind of hoping, you're just looking forward to that time where you can take your helmet off and relax a little bit. That's when you get some surprises. So set the tone early, go out there and start fast, and that's the quickest way that you'll get off the field and let some of these younger guys get some reps is take care of business. There's no doubt that it's a matchup that should be favorable for a lot of reasons for us, but Austin Peay is a good team for an FCS program. They've had a lot of success over the past few years, and it's not like they're just going to come in and lay down. They're not going to be intimidated by all the lights and everything else, and they're going to be ready to play.
And that was the best of Crimson Tide Rewind last night at Baumhower's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. We'll have 2 more episodes of that show coming up the Monday following both the Austin Peay and the Iron Bowl games, so still a lot to look forward to on Crimson Tide Rewind. A lot to look forward to coming up in the next few days. It's going to be very busy here on the Crimson Tide Sports Network, so it's time for a Wickles Weekend Update brought to you by Wickles Pickles. They are wickedly delicious. Find out more at wickles.com. We have the pickle chips. We have the okra, as always. So delicious from our friends at Wickles Pickles. Let's take a look at what's coming up on the Crimson Tide Sports Network. Mentioned it's going to be busy even later tonight. It's the Alabama men's basketball team taking on South Alabama. 9 p.m. tip-off. Our coverage will start on the radio at 8 o'clock. And then tomorrow, women's basketball hits the road to take on USF. That'll be a 6 p.m. start time on the network as well. Thursday, we'll be back with another edition of Crimson Drive, driven by NASCAR at 2. And then later that night, from Baumhower's Victory Grill in Tuscaloosa, it'll be Chris Stewart hosting Hey Coach and the Nick Saban shows. We'll hear from the head coach of the Crimson Tide prior to the Austin Peay game. On Friday, we'll have a men's basketball game, Alabama against Jacksonville State at 8 p.m., so our radio coverage will start at 7. We'll also have the This Week on the Crimson Tide Sports Network podcast available to download to get you ready for that early morning start time against the Austin Peay Governors. 8 o'clock will be our airtime. The kickoff will be 11 o'clock inside Bryant-Denny Stadium as we get to finish the regular season at home the next 2 weeks with Austin Peay and then the Iron Bowl. Then on Sunday, it'll be the Nick Saban television show along with Tide TV this week, and then we'll start our week of coverage coming up for Thanksgiving week on Monday with Crimson Tide Rewind at 6 p.m. from Baumhower's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills, all part of a very busy week. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media accounts. All the links are down below, and so you can stay up to date with the latest on the Crimson Tide and all the different shows and broadcasts we have coming up on the network. I want to invite you as well to experience the energy and the excitement of the iconic Daytona 500. Witness history in the making and purchase your tickets today at Daytona500.com. Well, we have to say a big thank you to J.C. Latham as well as Jeremiah Castille for joining us, and then I hope you enjoyed some of the best moments from Crimson Tide Rewind as well as our booth cam highlights, and of course Coach Saban getting us ready for what's coming up this week as Alabama plays Austin Peay. Look forward to being back with you all on Thursday at 2 o'clock with another edition of Crimson Drive driven by NASCAR. Special thanks as well to our video producer, Ethan Carabin, for putting this show together. For everybody with the Crimson Tide Sports Network and Alabama Athletics, this is Roger Hoover saying thank you for watching. watching. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and Roll Tide.